Thank you so much for being here. Who stay in the West? Right, okay, I came from Boon, so I'm like, just to check. Right, it's too far. But I think it's good because we have a great venue. I think the distance doesn't matter as much. The content is the one that's matter the most. And hopefully, if you travel all the way from the West or the East, you get something out of this today talk, right? So, I'm Tuya. I work for Google, and my main job is to do developer relations about Google Cloud, right? So things that I do involve like developing, kind of creating content, and also engaging with the developer. So if you are using Google Cloud and you are struggling to do your job, this is my job to help you success, right? So that's how I do at Google. And of course, as I progress, I'm actually an SIT alumni, right? So I study, I think back in 7, 8 years ago. So I studied comp science, I was working as a software engineer, and then consultancy, and machine learning engineer, and so on, right? So throughout my journey of learning, right, I've always been in IT space. So for my diploma, I did IT as well, and even for my master's, I also did comp science masters, right? So it has always been writing code, right, submitting assignments, and so on. But things are changing now, right? Who here vibe code? Few people, right? So if you are in the space of vibe coding, you'll be like, hey, I have this crazy idea. I want someone to help me do this, right? So I'm not sure, anyone here comp science students? Or study comp science in your university, poly, right? We have this notion of your friends coming to you and say, I have this idea, and then I want you to code it. Anyone encountered that problem before? I have this startup idea. I want you to start coding, right? But now we just ask them to do the vibe coding themselves, right? We don't have to care about it anymore, right? So this is a great thing, right? So I kind of outsource it, right? So software development in a nutshell is changing this way, right? So things are moving really, really fast. And the talk that I'm going to talk about didn't even exist maybe 3 months ago, right? So we have to adapt ourselves as a people who are working in the IT industry, or maybe who are going to work in the IT industry, and who love to write code, right? Who love to write code here? Anyone? Right, I would just rather write code than go attend meetings, right? So things like that, we have to adopt, and then we need to be one step ahead of the tools, right? So let me tell you, right, this is what I do when I was, studying or working for my first few years until the Gen AI came out, right? We just do, eat, sleep, and code. That's what we do, right? We convert coffee to code, right? As a software engineer, that's what you do. But now, things are more like this, right? Like you just write text and then just pass it on to the tools, and then they just give you the code. I'm like, what? Right, so this is actually one of the jokes that we did maybe 10 years ago, right? If you remember, right? So that's what things are moving towards now, right? So then now we need to kind of, okay, if I don't write code, what do I do as a software person, right? Then turns out, right? Like this is actually generated by machine learning, like Gemini 2.5 Pro, right? So it looks a little bit like Jackie Chan, but it's not really like Jackie Chan because that's how AIs, try to avoid the privacy laws and things, right? What do we do now, right? Because the core point of me studying comp science, doing coding, something that gives me enjoyment is being taken away from me, right? So turns out, right? How many of you here thinks what's the percentage, right, of the developer time that we spend coding if you are working? Give a number. Right? 10%? Okay, any more? 30. Okay, anyone? Who thinks 100% coding? I will apply your job. Anyone? No, right, it's like the max. Who say we can do more than 30% of the coding? Anyone? Right, so that's the thing. So we survey, right, so there's this group within Google called Dora. Right, we actually acquired them, right? So Dora is, it used to be a DevOps report team, but they kind of they call it state-of-the-earth DevOps reports, right? What's going on in the DevOps industry. But now they also move into AI, and they started creating generative report, right? So IDC report says that developer only spend 16% coding. Do you know what they were doing the other time? Debugging? Could be. Maybe writing Jira tickets, probably. Or maybe you are just, watching anime. I don't know, right? But the thing is, only 16% is coding, right? Like when you go and talk to the people and they're like, hey, you are a software engineer, I can do the same thing as you by vibe coding. I'm like, no, bro, you can't, right? So this 16% is being automated away. We have many other things to do, right? So what other things? We have this entire SDLC circle, right? You have to come up with the plan first. Right? Before even you write code, right? You still have to come up with a plan, what you are trying to build. And then you have this coding. Then after you code already, coding is not the same as building, right? If you study comp science, you probably know about, let's say, compilings and making sure testing are working and things like that, right? Building is like a bundling things that you build, right? You code, right? So you can write code all you want, you still need to build it, right? So after you build it, you're going to test it. If you're testing it, you cannot use your production as the UAT environment, right? You can't let the user test the product for you because it's gonna be too late, right? After that, you're going to have like release, right? I have release version 1, version 2, you have to have a release manager, right? How do you release? Then you deploy. Deployments, they have all the infrastructure, right? You need to code all these things. Right? You cannot just prompt to Gemini or any other LLM to help you to deploy things. Right, you need to deploy it manually yourself somehow, right? I mean, not yet anyway, maybe 6 months from now, I don't know, right? And then you have to operate, monitor, then you go back, right? So the whole circle actually takes a lot of time, right? So the coding generation part is only that code part, which is about 16%, right? So we can do a lot more things. It's not just coding, okay? So here are the things that we should focus on as a developer, right? So one thing is to master the tools that is available, right? If they are coming out with, let's say, IDE that automated in code generation, use that, right? Try to master it, make it yours, so that you are more proficient in doing the things that you like doing, right? You could also do things like, trying out the different tools and integrating with those skill set into your skill set, and you become the AI master, right? And also link towards system architecture, because end of the day, you still have to build like the planning, right, infrastructure, how things are going to talk to each other, right? The whole idea of things, you need to decide, right? Even if the AI agents and other coding tools can help you to write a code, you still have to be ultimately the person that decides the architecture, how the system going to work out, how the thing going to expand, and so on, right? So work on those skill sets, and also soft skills, right? If you are struggling to communicate to a human, how good will you be communicating to the agent, right? Human, you can still kind of like show some language, right? If you go to overseas, I don't know how to order, I just point this one, and then I say 2, then I give you 2, right? But I can't do that to agent, like what they're trying to do, right? So, need to improve some of your soft skills, right? Not just communication, but also articulating things that creative thinking, planning, technical leadership, also mentorship, right? Try to find that skill set that we are lacking from our education, right? Usually, comp science education is more catered towards like technical aspect rather than the soft skills, right? So we should do that. And this is one of the code that actually Sundar announced. Who don't know who Sundar is? Just checking. He's the CEO of Alphabet, right? So he said a quarter of the code that is generated in Google, right? And a lot of people say that, oh, you're going to lay off all the software engineer because they are generating code. But if you look at the sign from the behind, right, it says that it's being reviewed and accepted by the engineer. It's not just some random person generating code and they're just pushing things, right? If not, your Google search gives you weird results. So what does it tell you is that we still need engineer, we still need people who are technical, we still need people who can read code and write code, just that the writing part is being, automated with AI tools, but you still have to be the ultimate person who decide what goes into the production system, right? And it also helps you to do things faster, and of course, it's move faster in that sense, right? If you are interested, you can actually take a look at the report here. a bit blurry, but you can kind of get it. It's abc.xyz, the website is. Okay, so as a person who has to talk about this kind of topic day to day, right, I have to read a lot of reports because I can't just plug the number out of thin air and then you will believe, right? Like you have to tell the proof. Where do you get the source from, right? So I read this 2024 report from Dora. It's about how the impact of the AI is doing in the software development. And I kind of like extract out some of the things that is exciting to see as an individual developer, right? So if you want to read out, right, you can actually go to that Dora.dev website, research, and then you were able to see those stuff, right? So here's a few key things, right? 81% of the companies, they want to prioritize the initiative of AI. Who is working in a company that never mentioned AI before? Everyone talked about it before, right? Your town hall, your meetings, everywhere. You go LinkedIn, you see AI everywhere, right? And then most of the company, right, 76%, they are actually reliant on AI for coding. Because hiring software engineer is very difficult. It's also very expensive, right? So nowadays, people lean towards those code generation tools to help you generate code. But the developer want to change it, right? Because if you have a whole team just do vibe coding, who's going to debug the code? Who's going to deploy the code? Right? And if you just get hired to do this, imagine you have like 5 people giving you all the pull requests and you have to keep commenting everything. Like this is not how it works. You have to remove this secret from this line, right? It's very difficult as a developer who knows what you're doing into this kind of team, right? And of course, when people start using tools like that, a lot of developers report that they feel more productive, right? Because, you know, why code out a one button in HTML when you can actually ask the AI agents to help you generate one button in 30 minutes, right? So it's a joke, by the way. You can just code it in 5 minutes, but you wait to vibe code it in 30. Anyway, okay, so this is what the negative side, right? People don't talk about it. Everyone keep talking about, oh, what's good, right? But what's negative, right? Although a lot of the developer feel is more productive, right? They also feel that the quality of the code that they get is declined, right? Who feel that? Raise your hand. Who feel that if you see the code is generated by the AI, it's just actually, I can write better code than them, right? And then you can also see that even though they think that their productivity increase, but if you measure it really, the throughput is actually decreased by 1.5%. Do you know why? I just mentioned to you, right? Instead of you writing the code yourself, you just spend 30 minutes trying to talk to the agents to write the code. You could just done it in 5 minutes, right? And also, about 40% of the people, they just don't trust AI, right? There are people who's like, yeah, AI just go away, right? Like Web3, right? And the thing is, because of that, you have a lot more other people who will just be like reading code by themselves, right? Without any help from AI. And then your productivity like go down because of like all these frictions, right? And this is how the correlations comes about, right? So if an individual adopt AI by 25% more only, right, you can see that the documentation quality go up. Who agree that documentation will go up? Few people, right? Who like writing documentation for your code? Okay, no hands. Okay, so let AI do the job, right? It's actually increase by 7.5%. Okay, how about code quality? You think by using AI 25% of the time will improve the way you write your code? Anyone? Nobody think you can write better code than AI. Maybe you're using wrong AI. Okay, so how about approval speed, right? The code review, you just pass the code and then they just give you all the commands, right? These are all the statistics that they actually measure. The only things that is having a negative one is the tech debt. Right? The technical debt is actually reduced because nobody knows what's going on and there's no debt, right? I don't know, right? So the thing is, this is how the trends go up, right? And this is only 25%, right? You can read deeper into it and they actually explain line by line on what it means. And actually, the complexity go down, which is a good thing, because now you can actually solve a lot of hard problems by giving them a problem, and then they give you some reference solution so that you can actually implement it yourself, right? So treat AI like someone who you can brainstorm with, and also who can help you to, give you some suggestion, give you some reference, help you correct some of the typo, and so on. Okay? So now, there are two different types of AI that you can leverage on coding. So one, we call it coding assistance. So that means you have like a chatbot where you can just ask questions, copy paste your code, help you to change the variable. Who here is very good at naming variables? A few people, right? But AI can actually name it better than we can all name it, right? Like naming of the variable, following the coding standard, all these things you can have AI to do. Those tools are called coding assistants, right? But we also have this thing called asynchronous agent. So anyone heard about Jules, Jules, from Google? Few people, right? I'll show you some demo later. So those agents are more of like, hey, I have this repo, right? Maybe it's been there for like 3 years, right? I want my repo to be updated with latest, these patches, or maybe a new Python SDK, or like version of the Python, right? I want it to be updated. I don't want to do it. I just give a task to this agent. The agent do it for me, right? So that's something that we can do right now. Okay, so this is what assistants look like, right? I have like a line of text, maybe some typo here and there. Instead of main, I call it MIN, right? I didn't import the right import, right? What I need to do is I just go to, please fix this, right? Just fixed, and then it will just help you to fix all the code, and give you the diff. You can see what you want to import, right? So this is more like an assistant, right? You already write your code. You just need someone to help you to eyeball and help you fix some code, right? So this is, I'm using Gemini Code Assist in VS Code, right? So you can use this for free if you have like the API keys and stuff, right? So another one is like a Jules, right? So it's more like asynchronous development agent. So what you can do is you can ask it to fix someone else's code, help me fix this error, or help me diagnose there's like memory leak there, right? Help me write README for this, help me write documentations. What's going to happen is you have to link it up to your GitHub profile, by the way. So I link it up to mine, right? I'm Tuya, Gen AI agent, and I will just ask it to go and like do something, right? Maybe write README, and then just give a plan. What's going to happen is it will go back and then try to write all these things that you asked it to do. Then they give you a branch of your repo, right? They will just create a branch that you can decide whether you can make a pull request or not. They don't make pull requests, okay? They just give you a branch, and you can have to do it yourself. Right, so, coming back to a very important part, right? When we are using LMM for the first time, all we do is just prompt going into the LMM, then you get a response, right? Then sooner or later you find out that the responses are actually not very accurate, right? You have hallucinations. So we try to encounter that, right? And providing our additional data, grounding and so on. Then we also found out that the LMM actually cannot do any actions, right? No interaction with anything outside of that model, right? So now we started with this thing called AI agents, right? So this is actually a definition of AI agents. So is there an AI application that can reasons on how to best achieve a goal, right? You give a goal, it will try to find things, then it will actually give you input and output based on the tools and all the input that you have. So if you think about it, AI agents only have 3 components. You have the model. So the model is like a brain. It helps you to plan things, it helps you to decide what's good, what's not good, right? You also have the tools. The tools help you to like fetch data, maybe like, change something, activate something, retrieve some information, calling the API, delegate tasks to another agent, and so on. So when you have the brain and the hands and the legs, you still need a body to kind of hold things together, right? So give it like personality, give it something like a memory so that it knows which task is actually good or done already. Then you also need to do something like planning, which tasks to execute first and so on. That's the orchestration layer, right? So this is what the AI agent in the nutshell looks like, right? So if you think about it, the element part is only the brain part, right? The rest of the thing you still have to write code for, right? You need to write APIs, you need to write tools, you need to write functions, you need to have a database, right? You also need to have like memory management, state management, and so on. So it's not the end of the world that the models are actually generating state, right? So this is what the tech skill that you should actually focus on, other than building the AI agents, right? You should build tools for the AI agent to use. Maybe your company is providing services, right? So instead of having the API available, you will create something like MCP tools so that they can start using the tools that make you more business, right? And building the systems or application that uses AI, right? So if you are a Python developer, maybe you are using Django, right? You can actually build application that requires to use some AI, and they have just to integrate the AI piece, and you have like a full-blown website, right? So this is how we have to think as a Python developer in the world of AI. Like, where do I stand, and what kind of value I bring to this kind of table, right? So even if the code can generate by AI, you still need to bring this to production, and that skill set is what is missing right now, right, with the AI. Okay, so what should I focus on? There's a lot of icons over here, right? You can start learning Django. If you have not, you can use Flask to build APIs, right? You can use fast APIs, and who knows what's the middle part? The con, right? Yeah, you guys know it's good. It's the API gateway, right? So because nowadays there's a lot of models API from a lot of companies, having that gateway knowledge is very useful for you, right? Like, what if I want to switch between, Google model and like Anthropic models and some other model? Then you can have this knowledge of the gateway is very helpful for the developer, right? I know how to switch it around, right? And of course, DevOps skill set, right? Making sure things that you are building is not breaking, right? Can push to productions, release management, and so on. There's also cloud skill, right? Like it or not, the AIs will be on the cloud most of the time, right? Unless you are building your own AI into your on-prem services, it will just be there. And you need to learn how to harness the power of cloud, at least some part of it, into your workflow so that you can be more employable in the future. Okay, so now, if you want to build AI, so there are two types to it, right? Like, one is builder and one is user, right? So if you are building it, there are a lot of Python native tools out there, like LangGraph, CrewAI, or Google ADK. It's fairly easy to get started with those ADK, right? To just build some simple AI agent. And because you already know Python, right? Those are just, you just need to pass in like, some information, and then they just take care of all the cradings and like ushering and all this backend. So it's very easy to get started, and then all you need is just to learn a little bit of syntax from there, you're good to go. Right, the next thing about, if you are like, okay, I don't want to build anything, I just want to use it, right? There are a lot of tools out there as well, right? So Gemini Code Assist is one of them, Cursor is one of them, Windsurf one of them, Lovable, there are no others, right? It's also Juice and other things. So pick one that works best for you, right? So some of the tools are more like integration. Like, for example, Gemini Code Assist is a plugin in your VS Code, whereby Cursor and Windsurf is an editor by itself. Right? And the Juice is more of like the portal where you go and ask to do things. Right? See what works for you and use what's best for you as well. Right? You might actually have to use a hybrid between different editor and different portals and so on, but just have to explore it and see what works for you. Okay, so some of the challenges in this area, right, is that there's economically, ethically concerned as well, and also job security, right? If you are just fresh graduate who just learned to write code, and like, why am I learning how to write code where I can just generate like a list of code in like 5 minutes? So that's also some concern that we have, and it's very important to tell them that, hey, if you are learning to do something, you need to start from basic, right? You can actually outsource some of the things that is mundane to do, right? Creating templates and so on, but you still need to learn to appreciate the art of doing coding. And there's also a lot of noises around, right? Every day you wake up to some announcements from some big companies and everyone just like flog into it. And also there's like feeling behind of, oh, I'm not using these tools, am I behind? Right, so all these challenges, it will eventually get resolved in the meantime, but what I just provided you with, like the things that you should focus on instead of just chasing after the noises, it should probably help you with overcoming these kind of challenges as well. Okay, so here's some resources if you are interested in learning, right? So deep learning AI, I really liked it because it's kind of like platform neutral. So you can just go there and learn the topic of your choosing. And we also have Coursera courses, right? Anyone use Generative AI Studio from Google? If you do not, you should try using it because there's like an API-friendly interface for you to interact with your own application and so on. Right? If you want to learn about cloud, you can go and learn it from like CloudScape Boost, right? And if you become an innovator, they actually give you like monthly credits for you to learn things, so you don't even have to like upfront pay anything, right? Just be an innovator, sign up for free, then every month you go and claim your credits and then you just do things, right? So learn it from the cloud. So usually cloud services, they are paid services, right? So they will actually ask you to put in your credit card and so on, but there's always different ways for you to learn it without paying anything, okay? Right, so we are almost time. So this is my contact. If you want to contact, you probably connected here already. If you have any questions, you can raise and I can answer it for you. Any more questions? It could be about the slides, it could be about, yeah. So I'm also going to give AI workshop tomorrow morning here. I don't know whether it's the same venue, but it's at 9 a.m. So yeah, it's same here, right? Yeah.
Are there credits to try the tools?
Now, Juice is free. Juice is free, so Juice from Google DeepMind, not from Google Cloud. Yeah. So you can just try it now. You just have to accept terms and conditions, link up your GitHub repo. So even when you link it up, you can actually filter by the number of repo, like by individually or the whole organization. Yeah, it's free to use. Any more? Oh, good. Yes.
What's the difference between Juice and Google Cloud? Google Assist.
Yeah, so Juice is asynchronous. So it works with GitHub, right? So what you want it to do is that you want to hands off, right? I give you a task, you go and do it, you tell me when it's done, okay? Code Assist is more of like interactive. That's like your peers, like your seniors or your intern, right? I want you to do this task. At the same time, I'm also talking to you, right? So you can refine, it's a lot faster iteration. Yeah. So I see this is only like maybe temporary that they're separating the two. I can see that in the future it will be just more of like that. Together, right? You can actually do both at the same time. Yeah. Any more?
So does Google Code Assist have agent mode? Because last time I used it, it was not having.
Yeah, so they just announced some preview for the agent mode as well. So you could try out if they open up to public access, right? So the difference between, let's say, Juice and Google Gemini Code Assist will be the Gemini Code Assist is more catered towards enterprise user. So things that I never touch on because it's more like enterprise relevant things, that you can actually have Code Assist integrated with, let's say, Google Docs or like a Confluence where you can pull in the project requirement and then ask you to start building projects, template, test cases, and so on as well. Right, so they have a lot of integration, a lot more indexing, other features that it's come together with. Yeah. Any more? Yep.
For tomorrow's workshop, is there any requirement that just laptop we need to plan anything beforehand?
No need, just the laptop will do. And of course, the laptop should be able to use agents and Pythons and so on. Right? Don't use tablet. I don't know how to debug the tablet. If something goes wrong, I don't know where to check the debug. Yeah, the laptop will do. Any more? Oh, yes. So, okay, I will just show you. We have like maybe take 1 minute, right? So let me show, is it here? Right, so let's say Google. Right, oh, there's no internet. Okay, let me just connect it. So think of it like, you guys used Gemini before, right? So Gemini looks like this, right? I'm just actually trying to brainstorm what are the tools that you can use as a software engineer. So what's happened is, you want to integrate into, let's say, your existing app. You could technically use as like the API enabled tools. Let me actually, oh yeah, I cannot go too far inside. Let me just, okay. I'm connecting using my phone. Is there, oh, maybe I just try, no, there's no. Do I see, all right, I see it. I see my own one. Right. So, okay. All right, so this is AI Studio. I'm gonna put it down this way. Okay, it's loading up. Right, so from here, you can kind of see that there's a chat, streaming, generated media, and so on, right? So what is so good about this is you can actually get your API key from the top, right? Then you can actually integrate it with your existing, like websites or apps, any other things, right? And what's so good about this is that you can ask it to choose different model, right? Let's say you're interested to testing out Gemma, which is the open source version of the element from Google. You can test it out here first, right? So here's actually have Gemma. So Gemma 3N, which is for the on-device use cases. You have 1 billion, 3 billion, 4 billion kind of thing, right? This is more for people who want to test out your own, let's say, on-device hosted or own server. If you want to try out Gemini 2.5, you can always find different chat point of Gemini here, right? It's the same thing. You can just ask about, tell me what to do in SIT, right? And it will just use as normal, right? But the good thing is you can actually have thinking mode enable, or you can have this code execution enable here. You have the function calling enable. You can ground with Google search. You can also do a couple of things like changing the safety settings, right? So compared to something like, let's say, Gemini, right? So Gemini here doesn't give you any of those options, right? AI Studio can give you all these options for you to try. And you can also, let's say, if I want to make it into application, I can just click this, and then here is the Python code for you to try it, right? So the code itself is here written already. Just have to copy this. You can also check out the API documentation here. Right, this is more friendly for developer, right? You can just test it, then you just deploy it and things like that. Right? If you want to generate media, right? Like you can generate audio, video, right? I just say generate, let's say sushi. It will just generate an image of a sushi on a table. It will start generating, and then it will just give you the image as well, right? All these things, you have some quota, right? It's free to use, and then you can just use this, let's say download, right? I just large view, or I just download it. Yeah, so this is how you can use, and you can also do something like streaming, right? The streaming is more like you can share your screen. So let me say if I can share my screen and ask questions, right? So currently I'm only sharing this screen. So, hey Gemini, can you tell me what you see on the screen?
On the screen, I see the Google General AI SDK documentation. Is there anything specific in the documentation you would like me to look at?
Can you go through the slides that I'm scrolling and then tell me, what's the summary of what I can see on the screen?
Okay, I will go through the documentation as you scroll and provide a summary. The documentation begins with installation instructions, then goes into how to import, how to create a client, API selection, setting the API version, faster asynchronous client adoption, proxy configurations, types, models, and generating content. Should I continue?
Thank you, that's all.
You're welcome. Is there anything else I can help you with regarding the Google General AI SDK documentation?
Yeah, so that's how can you use as well. But you have a limit of 10 minutes concurrent. So you cannot do more than 10, you got to restart the new sessions, right? But because it's all meant for testing and development only. Okay, yeah.
Can you do your time transition?
You can try, let me see. Okay, so I could just start a new stream. Right, let's wait for it to. Hey Gemini, if I tell you in English, can you reply me in Mandarin?
I am unable to respond in Mandarin at this time.
No, because this is a free version, right? So if you actually watch,
Correct. I am currently running out of
see, it knows. So the thing is, there is new products coming from Google. It's called Google Beam. So Google Beams is actually 3D video calling. So you can actually see a person in front of you in 3D, and you can do automatic translation. So if you speak English to the chat, and the other person can actually listen in their own native language. Anyone see that video? A few people. Do we have time? Let me see. IO 2025 Meet auto translation. Right, so this is the one.
Hi, Camilla. Let me turn on speech translation. It's nice to finally talk to you. Es bueno hablarte finalmente. No puedo esperar a alquilar tu casa.
Te vas a divertir mucho y creo que te va a encantar. You're going to have a lot of fun and I think you're going to love visiting the city. The house is in a very nice neighborhood and overlooks the mountains.
That sounds wonderful. Eso suena maravilloso. ¿Es la casa cercana al transporte público o recomiendas alquilar un coche?
Hay un autobús cerca, pero there's a bus nearby, but I would recommend renting a car so you can visit the nature and enjoy it.
That sounds great. Eso suena genial.
So that's how the future of video calling gonna be, right? So they are working on it. It's more like a automated translation. So you talk to it in English and then the other person hear in their own native language. All right, any more questions? Yeah.
Is that general translation? I mean, that one you show, is it public?
So I think you can try it if you're like a tester, but they haven't really made it like full blown to everyone yet. So they just announced it in Google I/O about a month ago. Yeah.
Try this on Microsoft Teams.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's all kind of like testing phase only. Yeah. Any more? Okay, someone had a lunch already, so we'll just call it a day. Okay, thank you so much for your time, and I hope you have a good time, and we'll see you tomorrow, okay? Thank you.